transhumanism.com. It's all there, and thank you for your support. We're going to stay on air, but we are in your hands, and I will never back down. I will never surrender. I will never falter or waver if I have your support, but I could give out if I don't have it. So I am in your hands. You are in my hands. We need funding. Infowarstore.com, and I thank you. Jason Bermas has got a full show. Take it over, Jason.
Thank you, Alex Jones, and in the next hour, we are going to show you how the transgender movement is really about transhumanism. We're going to talk about a specific individual called Martine Rothblatt that actually authored the book From Transgender to Transhumanism, a Manifesto. This is the person who is the CEO of United Therapeutics, Into the Human Genome Project, has started their own religion, TerraSim, and of course is transgender themselves. All right, the agenda is right in front of us, but first I want to take it back to what transhumanism really means to different classes of people. For instance, the predator class believes that they will utilize the biomedical technology to essentially have a fountain of youth where they live forever within these types of physical bodies that are then extended by the technology. Now, for you and I, it is about fooling us into believing we need to augment our bodies, stop having families, and prepare to upload our consciousness into a false virtual reality as we actually manufacture the AI doppelgangers that they will say have cyber consciousness and their own set of rights. So to begin to make that point, I want to play this video recently of Jared Kushner openly discussing how his generation may be the first generation that lives forever or the last generation that naturally dies.
Friend. And then finally, I think that from the last year, the one thing I've tried to put a priority on since I left the White House was getting some exercise in. I think that there's a good probability that my generation is, hopefully with the advances in science, either the first generation to live forever or the last generation that's going to die. And so we need to keep ourselves in pretty good shape. And then the other thing I like.
So right there, that's for them. That is not for you and I. You and I get the Great Reset. We get the Great Narrative. We get a thing called sustainability and productivity improvement, which are code words for your standard of living plummeting, you being put on a universal basic income as you prepare to be, again, virtually uploaded, not really, that's the promise, virtually uploaded into their next level metaverse. This is the Alex Jones Show. Alex Jones needs your support. Go to InfoWarsStore.com right now. Get a bunch of the great products, but especially get the Great Reset and the War for the World. It is so important to push that book to number one. We'll be back on the other side talking transhumanism. We are back. It is the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show. I am Jason Bermas, and we are talking from transgender to transhumanism. And yes, we're going to show you the book. We're going to show you the manifesto. We're going to show you Rothblatt themselves. But first, I want to take it back to where Alex was talking about this agenda of command and control. And I often show people Dennis Bushnell, who's the chief scientist at NASA. Guys, it's not about going to the moon or Mars. I mean, they just had to cancel Artemis, where they had dummies and Snoopy on it because of first, lightning storms and now fuel leaks. We're very limited on what rocket technology can actually do other than weaponized space, by the way. However, what they're really about is transhumanism, full spectrum dominance, and working with organizations like DARPA to bring in this technology. Now, Bushnell's still the chief scientist over there. He's been around since the Gemini days. We often go to his 2001, 2025 Future Strategic Warfare document, which we may show you. But here he lays it down for you all the way back in 2011 of what sustainability really means. It means you're doing too much. There are too many people on the earth. We need to fix that. It's Malthus 101. We're going to instigate population control, and then we're going to bring in the robots, which can do anything a human can do, but better. But don't take my word for it. Let's listen to Dennis.
Prevention of collapse of the ecosystem has now become the overwhelming issue. Current food production is based on freshwater plants, i.e. glycophytes. We're running out of fresh water, as you know. The code word is sustainability. The crashing of the ecosystem is due to population growth and the way we're now living, our standard of living. The estimates vary between 30 and 50% of a planet that we're currently short to sustain the standard of living and the current population, much less the population growth.
Now, again, think about this. This is over a decade ago. So the current population is always the problem. The people are always the problem.
As the Asians and their billions come up as they are at 9 to 11% growth rate to Western standards of living, we're going to be short 3 more planets, and they're not readily available. This will result in peak everything. This will result in standards of living plunging. So this is Malthus 101.
Malthusianism, your standard of living plummeting. Get ready, the growth business is over. This is command and control, and now you're going to find out productivity improvement is really about automation and robotization.
These innate ecosystem restrictions and shortfalls will necessarily shift world econometrics from a growth mantra to one of sustainability, with possible population control instigated along the way that changes everything.
You know, they're just going to instigate that population control. And you could do that biomedically, but also the psychological warfare aspect of the trans movement and telling people that they are fluid, that they are zeros and ones, they're non-binary. They can take any form they like. That lie is at the essence of that.
In terms of employment, just as an example, we are in a jobless economic recovery. There's about 7 million jobs missing. Some of them were globalized and offshore, about a third. The rest of them are gone.
Gone.
The code word is productivity improvement.
Code word.
Which is a code word for ever better automation and robotization. If you look at the way the robots are going, human-level machine intelligence from the IBM Blue Brain Project is now about 10 to 15 years out. Via biomimetics, where they've nanosectioned the neocortex and they're replicating it in silicon, okay? And they're having great success at all of this. So this is not soft computing, this is via biomimetics. We have looked 20, 30 years out with the way robotics and automation and machine intelligence
20, 30 years out at this point is 2030, 2040, folks.
Is going at what jobs the machines cannot do. The answer is none. We thought we need human touch labor in nursing homes for a while, but the Japanese 2 years ago put robots in nursing homes, and patients like them much better than the humans.
You see how that's funny, but that's really what it's about. Also, it's about taking control of the medical system, of the school systems, bringing in AI, bringing in globalism. It's funny then, but really part of their command and control is something like this, which we saw during the COVID-19 84 nightmare over in Australia. And that was what? Oh, Grace, which is the AI bot Sophia's cousin. Remember, they're eventually going to convince you this type of technology has consciousness and rights. All right? And this is going to run on the blockchain. Software does what you tell software to do. So when you put it into a robot, there is no human empathy. It is extremely, extremely dangerous. Now, I want to jump to a clip here of this. Well, I'm going to let you see it for yourself. It is just a segment from the TransFORMERS conference from May 18th, 2016. And guess what? Mr. Bezos, who's part of that transhumanist crew like Kushner that thinks that they're going to empower themselves and live forever, right? The Washington Post, along with Lockheed Martin and Samsung, put together this conference called TransFORMERS. that starts with Martine Rothblatt. But we're going to show you somebody who's already transformed themselves with a device that can see, hear, feel colors. It's an extra sense. And he even talks about it in relation to what? The underground transgender movement of the past.
But that humans don't have. So we are in a stage in history that we can actually design what species we want to be. I consider myself a trans species because I'm adding senses and organs that other species have. And you can add many, many more senses that other species have and organs that other species have. And we'll start seeing this in the 20s because it's now growing. It's happening underground. There's already many surgeons that are willing to do the surgery anonymously in the same way that in the 50s and 60s, transgender operations were being done a bit underground. Now cyborg surgeries are being done a bit underground. But in the end, bioethical committees will also accept that cyborg surgeries should be allowed for everyone that wants to extend their perception of reality, at least to the level of.
So again, these bioethics committees are going to decide. And guess what? The World Health Organization, along with the United Nations, has now just magically decided that sex is not limited to male or female. This is the new thing. And remember, the World Health Organization took charge of what the narratives could be on large social media platforms, including YouTube and Google. In fact, you go to their own sites, Gender and Health. You go to their own propaganda, and now it is health for peace and peace for health, with a transgender Mother Earth who has a mustache holding the dove of peace. Meanwhile, you see windmills, recycling symbols on there, because this is about command and control. When we come back, we're going to play more from the TransFORMERS conference. We're going to go to the author of From Transgender to Transhumanism, a Manifesto, and we're going to let that person speak for themselves. I am Jason Bermas. This is the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. Do what you can right now to support Alex Jones and InfoWars. If you can give a straight donation, great. If you can go buy The Great Reset and The War for a World, great. If you can go to InfoWarsStore.com and make a purchase, even better. We'll be back with more info on the flip. We are back. It is the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Bermas, and it is time to go from transgender to transhuman. Now, it cannot be overstated how powerful this person is, and we'll look at some of the other works of literature that they've put out there. This is a person who is heavily into eugenics. This is a person that has founded their own religion. Okay, it is the Terra Sem movement. This is a person that is at the height of what xenotransplantation is. And they'll later talk about social Darwinism. And essentially, I want to put this out there again. They're going to tell you that this technology is going to empower you. It's going to enslave you. Meanwhile, they intend to test the actual technology that could empower humanity that they intend to use for themselves. And when we get to Rothblatt being talked to, number one, they are the first person to be talked to at the TransFORMERS conference put on by the Post and the good people at Lockheed Martin. Remember, Bezos is one of those people that believes he's going to empower himself with this technology. The first thing they mention is the law in North Carolina that was passed to keep transgender people in the correct bathrooms. And now how that is bigoted. Remember, this is a manifesto this person has written about the freedom of form and has heavily invested in this movement to take us from transgender to transhuman, because they want you to believe there is no biology and that the traditional family and any idea of a deity out there doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all. So let's play this clip.
Is also the recipient of this year's Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative Award, which is devoted to LBGT issues, and puts her in an interesting issue because she has a company, or part of the company is based in North Carolina, which, as you know right now, she might get arrested for going to the bathroom if the governor had anything to do about it.
And later they'll go back to the bathroom issue. I did a full watch along with this entire presentation for over an hour and 20 minutes of it, because I think it was almost a 2-hour broadcast, because it is so important. But again, listen to what this person has to say about transhumanism.
Ladies and gentlemen, Martine Rothblatt. Martine, one of the basic concepts that you're interested in, it's not just improving life, but it's actually immortality, that we're all going to live forever. And Martine, I might mention, has founded a religion, as one does, known as Terrasym. It's based on transhumanism. And you have the idea that we're not just going to live a long time, but we're all going to live forever. Tell us your concept of immortality and how that actually would work.
See, this is going to be the false immortality that they're going to try to trick you into to get you into the quote-unquote virtual age. They want to make life on this planet so destructive, so hard, so abhorrent that they want to trick you into this new thing that they're already setting up through the World Economic Forum. All right, it is the metaverse, and defining and building that with what? Governance and socio and economic value. All part of the social credit score, all part of the command and control.
Thanks, Neely. It's a great pleasure to be here. The idea is one that has been percolating up from lots of people in the information technology industry for a while. Perhaps Ray Kurzweil, who is a prolific inventor, is best known for the idea that as our abilities in the information processing industry, computer software, storage of more and more of our thoughts and our ideas outside of our body becomes easier, more automatic, less expensive, that ultimately we're going to have sort of digital doppelgangers of ourselves that are stored in the cloud and are able to present themselves to any manner of devices. And that as thousands and thousands of software coders and hackers and people in the maker movement work to make the software that runs these digital doppelgangers ever more lifelike, ever more human-like, there'll come sort of a tipping point when people begin to claim that these digital doppelgangers have achieved what we call consciousness.
And remember, we already have that Google whistleblower, who actually happens to be into chaos, magic, and Crowley, all right, saying that the AI they're working now at Google is sentient, all right? And none of it is sentient. It is all programs. It is all zeros and ones. It is all false, but it is there to trick you so that they can give it rights through laws and lawyers. And through this, she'll talk about how we're going to treat them as pets, right? They're only going to have pets or animal type rights. That's a total lie to get you absorbed into that.
An ability to have a sense of themselves, hopes, fears, and feelings. And at that point, I think the activity will move to the legal arena as to whether or not these digital doppelgangers really are conscious, really do have an independent legal identity. And kind of the trend of progressive thinking is once there's a scientific consensus, and in this case it would be the science of psychology.
So in other words, you're going to have to trust the psychological science. And boy, the science has just changed on gender too, according to the UN and the World Health Organization. And I want to point out, you know, the drag part of this, the trans part of that, because again, that's the science now, is a big deal. This is at a school at the United Nations. The United Nations has its own private school, okay? And you can look this up. It is Eunice. And in that school, oh, it's just drag queens everywhere. It's proud are the brave. This is a grade school. I got sent this from a friend. I'm not going to tell you what friend or how, but an insider. And now that science is, they're going to let you know the most gay-friendly countries. When you really get down to it, over here you see sustainable development goals, right? And you see the same things again and again all over. Take a look at this one. This is where you see some real charts. I mean, look at the definitive information that they're putting out there to push transgenderism. And the progressive thinking is under what? The science we must all trust about psychology. You know, the same psychology scientists that gave us SSRI drugs that have been so helpful in society.
Being the science of the mind, that these digital doppelgangers are in fact cyber conscious. then they'll begin to acquire the sorts of rights and protections that we assign to even our pets, laboratory animals, and to quite a high extent to primates like chimpanzees.
So there you go. This is the incrementalization of this program. Small steps, again, from transgender to transhuman. And this person's written several other books, including what? Unzipped Genes. Unzipped Genes. Take a look, folks. It's right here. So they're telling you that biomedical, this is from 97. The transgender to transhuman is 2011. They're telling you that you're going to live in a virtual universe. There's going to be digital doppelgangers. They're going to have rights. And she'll make the analogy that your aunt can die in a car accident, but they're not really gone because their aunt is going to live through some other cybernetically created organism that's going to have that upload on it. It is not your consciousness. It is not your soul. You are special. You are not zeros and ones. There is an agenda against your children right now to biologically and psychologically come after them so that they no longer can think straight and are pushed into this agenda of taking away their biological identity, okay, and the possibility of them having a family and daring to stand up to this very real post-human future that the predator class would like to bring in as they extend their life through their fountain of youth technology. Final segment on the other side. It's the Alex Jones Show. Go support him at InfoWarsStore.com. We are back. It is the final segment of the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show. I am Jason Bermas. We are talking from transgender to transhumanism. And in this next segment, Rothblatt will discuss this uploading of a digital doppelganger and this immortality. Meanwhile, Calico Labs, which is run by Kurzweil, who Rothblatt mentions, right? They're actually looking for the technology, again, the Fountain of Youth stuff, where the digital doppelganger doesn't need to be uploaded. But we have to ignore that, and we just have to trust this person who says it's the best thing since breakfast when they're confronted on the eugenics issue as well.
And I think very quickly we'll get to a point where we say that that cyber-conscious individual has a soul, it's Neely's soul, and even if, God forbid, Neely's body ends in a car accident or some other death and disability, Neely did not end. Neely's identity continues in this cyber-conscious form.
So again, the cyber consciousness is the equivalent to a soul, a total lie. Okay, your consciousness, your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to talk, whatever you want to speak about it, whatever you want to call it, that is unique. That is something that they cannot replicate. They will try to imitate and convince the masses that it is that, but I assure you, it is not.
Let me ask you one more about sort of the frightening aspects of this, because there would be some people that none of us want to live forever. Hitler, for example. Nobody wants this guy to be able to upload, right?
See, everybody just kind of chuckles. Oh, it's so funny.
So where do you get into sort of eugenics was a real thing in this country? In other words, 20 years, 80 years ago, we're going to...
No, you're right. You can go back 20 years. There's still a lot of programs out there. Eugenics is a real thing globally now, and for us not to acknowledge that is a big problem.
Whole people to make the whole tribe better. You're a nice person to run this project, but how do we avoid sort of digital eugenics and cyber robots, cyber people? Where does that come in? Who gets to participate in the program?
Yeah, Neely, I have the point of view that this is not something, a realistic thing to really fear, because... Again,
don't think about it. Don't fear it. It's not realistic. And then she actually talks about Darwinism. All right, these are social Darwinists, and there are classes of people. There's a predator class. They consider those under them what? Either they're minions or peasants. Period. The technology is not for us to be empowered with. And again, this person is going to give you this false idea that good always triumphs over evil. That's not reality.
Because all of this cyber consciousness and all of these robots that are being developed in an environment which, even though it's a human-made environment, our socioeconomic system, it's still an environment much like the natural environment. It's just us humans are the selection factors. And so the laws of Darwinism still apply. And the so-called bad robot problem, or the Hitler robot problem, there is going to be nobody that wants to buy a Hitler robot. If a Hitler robot emerges and begins to do bad things, the same thing is going to happen to the Hitler robot that happened to the real Hitler, which is the rest of society is going to rise up and quash it down.
Really, because if you look at technology, especially that is developed for warfare, often the people can't rise up, hence drone warfare in the Middle East and the war on terror. Even what's going on now with the Ukraine and Elon Musk's Starlink and Blackjack satellites that are rigging up to drones that are killing people. Very unrealistic. And by the way, I'm going to play Dennis Bushnell in 2018, not only talking about human brain chips, but how we've taken charge of evolution. The evolution of everything is over. It's all going to be human-driven, Darwin-driven. Remember, this is a 2016 conference. The Bushnell clip is from 2018 coming up.
So there's no market really for an evil robot, evil software. Does that mean that evil robots and software will never exist? No, I don't think it means that, because
they already exist.
There's always mutations in the environment, and there will be bad people and bad robots that emerge. But the vast majority of billions of people that comprise all the decision-making in society through their economic powers and their political powers will quash down the bad people and the bad robots. And so I think it's a self-correcting problem, because humans, overwhelmingly good humans, comprise the Darwinian environment in which all of this cyber consciousness will emerge.
So let's just stop it right there. Unfortunately, the masses no longer have a lot of economic or political power. And that's why the Great Reset and the Great Narrative are the steps to this transhumanist and eventually virtual age. So let's play Bushnell now telling you.
Humans are now becoming cyborgs. We have cochlear implants to hear, artificial retinas to see, artificial hearts to live, artificial limbs to move, artificial organs to functions, and brain chips. There's a couple 100,000 people wandering around with brain chips now to fix congenitally defective brains and increasingly to fix memory and other things. DARPA's working on brain chips for super soldiers.
And they've been working on them for decades, by the way. And Elon Musk and others, they just can't wait to invest in this technology. Neuralink is DoD DARPA tech. Grow up. He's a front for the military-industrial complex. He ain't your friend. He's about to launch the Optimus robot on World AI Day this September 30th.
And people are now working, thanks to Musk and other people, funding on direct machine-brain communications. It's not us versus them, us versus the machines. We're merging. And this is the human evolution of the humans. There is no more natural evolution of anything. People are convinced that the human evolution of everything is 10 million times faster than any natural evolution.
So there it is right there. He's telling you, we're taking control of evolution. And in some respects, you almost have to thank Yuval Noah Harari, who did this recent interview with TED Talks, right? This is the Audio Collective. This is an hour long, where he not only tells you the vast majority of the population is not needed for the future of society. In that interview, he lets you know that one of the reasons there's so much upheaval and disturbance in the world is that psychologically, subconsciously, in the back of most people's heads, they realize they're not part of the future. They realize the next story, as he calls it, for humanity in general, doesn't involve the majority of the populace. We've laid it down here in the past hour. Yeah, they're coming after your kids because they want to destroy the family. Yeah, they're coming after your kids because they want to sexualize and confuse them. But ultimately, they want a populace that no longer identifies at all with their own biology, with their family structure, the inherent nature of that, and the inherent nature of us looking above to find out that there is a source, a power out there that grants humanity itself free will to make its own decisions. And that good and evil actually exist. They're not just social mores, all right? They're not just societal norms. They actually exist, and they want to separate us from all of that. Meanwhile, they'll take their technology for the Cushes of the world and the Peter Thiels of the world and the Bezoses of the world and try to live in this form forever, eternally, and get us to transmutate our bodies with bio-nanotech and human brain interfaces that will ultimately enslave us and push us into a metaverse or virtual age where we literally euthanize ourselves and believe that we will live forever. Folks, if you want to see more of this stuff, in fact, you want to see more of that conference, we did the watch-along. It is the Transhumanism More Than Meets the Eye watch-along. You can watch it on all of my platforms. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Rockfin. I'm still at YouTube by the skin of my chinny chin. And I'm a documentary filmmaker. The 9/11 21st anniversary is just around the corner. I want to remind you that InfoWars and Alex Jones, they produce Loose Change, Final Cut, and Fabled Enemies. I want you to watch Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. And I want you to support Alex Jones and Infowars.com right now with making that purchase of what? The Great Reset and the War for the World. Push that mother trucker all the way to number one. You can support by giving a donation or going to InfoWarsStore.com and getting some of the other great videos out there, including the COVID Land series. This is the tip of the spear. I want to personally thank Alex Jones for allowing me the opportunity to reach his audience for an hour on this extremely important issue, because the bottom line is, yeah, I'm about the Constitution. Yeah, I'm about the Republic. Yeah, I'm totally about humanity, and this is the battle for it. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the flip side.